Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we'll be looking at some of the quotes following United's 2-2 draw with Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp getting a bit salty. Who'd have thunk it? Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather, yeah, it's all right. It's been a bit wet this morning, but it seems to have cleared up. So you might want to take your Parkers if you've got them. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Loads of stories to get through, so we'll crack on. The stories basically focusing on the morning after, the night before. Manchester United getting a 2-2 draw against Liverpool. Bit of a mixed feeling this morning. I think that's what Erik ten Hag was talking about. He said he was proud of his players, yet he had mixed emotions after the game in his post-match press conference and his interviews. He said, obviously, we've dropped, is it 7 points now? Coming from winning positions in the last 3 games. Not great, but you have to take a small measure of comfort from the fact that if you look at that first half against Liverpool yesterday, we were absolutely terrible. So to get something out of the game, you probably would have took that half-time. It's just annoying when the game was there to be won. And yet again, it's a penalty that has done for us. That's our 3rd penalty we've conceded in 2 games now. And I'm not going to get into the whole penalty debate, but I think all of them have been touch and go, shall we say. Some more than others. But yeah, it's just really frustrating. There were some positives though. Willie Kambwala was a big positive. His stats, I saw a stat, I think it was Statman Dave who loves posting stats. He posted that he won, I think, 100% of his ground duels, 100% of his tackles. I think there's 3 interceptions and 2 clearances as well. Amongst that, really good performance from Willie Kambwala. Coming in, let's not forget, as what is he, our 6th choice centre-back? Probably. If you look at it, you've got Martinez, you've got Varane, you've got Lindelof, you've got Evans, even Luke Shaw when he's fit. If we've got another option at left back, you'll play Luke Shaw left centre back, wouldn't you? So yeah, you could argue Willie Kambwala is probably your 6th choice centre back. Yeah, that performance against a very good Liverpool team was absolutely phenomenal. Erik ten Hag saying that when old soldiers die, new ones come in, and he was a soldier yesterday, wasn't he, Willie Kambwala? Very excited to see how his career progresses. But when you look at players like Kambwala and Mainoo, who's obviously phenomenal again with that fantastic strike, Alejandro Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund. There is a core of good young players at the club. Also, let's not forget, we've got a very strong academy team who've been absolutely smashing it. They smashed Liverpool, I think it was 9-1 over the weekend, and they've been banging in the goals and getting loads of wins in their league as well. They've been breaking all sorts of records. So United do have something to build on there for the future. Is Erik ten Hag going to be part of that? We'll have to wait and see. It's still up in the air whether Ineos are going to stick with him or not. There was footage yesterday, I think, doing the rounds of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Dave Brailsford in the crowd. We always see this footage of the owners or the part owners or the new sort of regime, whatever you want to call it, at the games. We'll have to wait and see. I think, and I've been saying this for ages, they'll make a decision at the end of the season. And I think the only way, for me, Erik ten Hag can guarantee his job next season, even that might be a little bit touch and go, is if he wins the FA Cup. It's a big if, but if you win the FA Cup, back-to-back trophies in your first 2 seasons, maybe, just maybe Ineos look at it and go, okay, there's every reason to give him another year or so or whatever to show that he's the right man to move us forward. I think in terms of Champions League football, I think we're done. I thought we were done after the Brentford game, so I'm not going to change my mind after losing to Chelsea and drawing with Liverpool. I think Champions League football next season, even though 5th place can be a Champions League spot, is done. You might disagree, get involved in the chat in the comments, but I think we've blown it, to be honest with you. But winning the FA Cup might still be enough for Ineos to say, look, okay, it's a big trophy, we'll settle for that and we'll go again. People say, well, Louis van Gaal got sacked after winning the FA Cup. The decision had already been made, and also Jose Mourinho was waiting there. There isn't a standout candidate for me to succeed Erik ten Hag in the way that Jose Mourinho was the obvious one to succeed Louis van Gaal. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. Jurgen Klopp was being a bit salty, wasn't he, after the game? I don't know if you saw there was a footage, I think, doing the rounds on TikTok. There was footage doing the rounds on TikTok of Jurgen Klopp when he was going down the tunnel at the end of the game. All the United fans were chanting, he's cracking up, Jurgen's cracking up, and he was sort of indicating he couldn't quite tell what he was saying. But yeah, he looks very animated on the touchline. After the game as well, he was very salty. He basically said if United play like that against Arsenal, Arsenal will win 100%. And you know what, Jurgen? I hope you're right. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say that I want Arsenal to beat United. No, I'm a United fan. And obviously, I don't want that to happen. I'd hate Arsenal to beat us and then win the league, not City or Liverpool. Yeah, that'd be tragic. But yeah, he might have a point because United were very good. But it's a weird thing to say for a manager who's going for a league title to say that the team we just didn't beat, if our rivals play against them, they'll beat them. I don't really get what he's getting at there. Is he saying that Liverpool aren't as good as Arsenal? bit of a weird thing, but I think he was very annoyed. He was also seemed to get a bit annoyed when the commentator told him, or the interviewer told him, that United were disappointed with a point. He went, really? Like, disappointed? United are? Like, we should be chuffed that we were winning with 10 minutes to go, whatever, and we only ended up with a point. So, yeah, he seemed very, very bitter about it. He also said he can't remember dominating United like they have done over the last 2 games, yet they haven't won either of them. They obviously got knocked out of the FA Cup with that epic 4-3 win for United, and they drew yesterday, and he's talking about how they dominated us and how Arsenal should beat us and all the rest of it. So, yeah, a very sort of annoyed and salty Jurgen Klopp. Probably his last game as a manager at Old Trafford. I don't know unless he comes back with another club, but certainly his last game as Liverpool manager at Old Trafford. And it's just a shame we couldn't send him packing with a defeat, but such a weird game. Get involved in the chat in the comments. It was a cliched game in 2 hours. First half, terrible. Second half, United were much better and got into it. Some people I've seen have been criticising Erik ten Hag about his substitution, taking Garnacho off. Seems to confuse a few people. Mainoo, all the rest of it. I mean, we're going to get into it later on as well. We've already got the post-match reaction. We're back for the Paddock podcast where we can talk about it a little bit more. But we've already had the post-match reaction from the likes of Andy Tate, Stephen Alson and Ronaldo Brown on the live show as well. So you can go and check out the reaction from them guys if you want to have a look at that. Mainoo did the interviews after the game as well. And he talks a lot of sense, Mainoo, doesn't he? I like the way he conducts himself in interviews. He's got a level of maturity that you don't see from a teenager very often. I think when we've seen players breaking into the first team at Manchester United, we have seen players who've come into the first team and smashed it straight away. If you look at Marcus Rashford when he came in, he was scoring goals on his debut against Midtjylland, goal against Arsenal on his Premier League debut, the winner at the Etihad. That's a phenomenal start to his Manchester United career. But when you saw him in interviews, you could tell he was still a shy, young, sort of inexperienced lad. I get that. Mason Greenwood came into the side at a young age and smashed it again. Didn't really do interviews. But Mainoo, when you look at him, he's very confident. He's very mature, not just on the pitch, where you can see how he conducts himself, but off the pitch as well. With his interviews, he speaks very well, doesn't seem to get fazed by being put under the spotlight. And I think that'll bode well for him moving forward, because that's a player, for me, that can handle the pressure that comes with playing for Manchester United, both on and off the pitch, because sometimes it's the off the pitch stuff that can really get to players, as we've seen in the past. Mainoo spoke about the goal, Diaz's goal, and he said, I think he mentioned the fact that it was him and Rasmus Højlund doubled up on Virgil van Dijk, and that left Luis Diaz free. There was a bit of a miscommunication, which quite like the fact he explained it as well. So yeah, talking a lot of sense. He also spoke about disappointment of not winning as well. I could wax lyrical about Mainoo all day long about everything he does. I just love the kid, like every Manchester United fan probably does, because he's just great in it. In a season that's been largely underwhelming and disappointing, he has been a very, very bright spark indeed. I'm going to wrap it up there, because most of the stories this morning, they're just focusing on the game yesterday. They're focusing on the reaction. We've heard from Jurgen Klopp. We've heard from Erik ten Hag. We've heard from Mainoo. I don't really care what anyone else thinks, to be honest with you. We know Willy Kambwala had a very good game, and we know that top 5 really, it ain't happening. I don't think so anyway. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Back later on with the Paddock podcast. Let's try and get to 750,000 subscribers by the end of the season. With your support, we can get there. I've been Jay Motty, outside a pretty mild Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.